This is Swarfcast. I'm Noah Graff. I am honored to be here with Lloyd Graff, my dad, my mentor, my occasional co-host of this podcast. And we are talking about our reflections of 2023 and thoughts about what might happen next year. Dad, do you have anything else to say?
I have quite a few things to say, actually.
Oh, I can't wait. So, okay, let's jump in. It sounds like you got some stuff on your mind. What is the first thing that you want to say when you are thinking about 2023? By the way, everybody, today, December 17th, probably going to hear this in a couple weeks, but today, December 17th, is a day after Lloyd's birthday. He just turned 79. So, congrats on that, and I'll let you take it away now.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me on.
You can come on whenever you want.
Well, I doubt that. But anyway, I want to talk about this past year, what went right as far as our predictions and how we acted on them, and what were utter failures and moderate failures.
I like that you keep it real.
First of all, I'm extremely grateful to be here today, to be alive 15 years after a heart attack that should have killed me, and quadruple bypass valves surgery. And here I am, 15 years later, still working in the business, and fortunately working with my son Noah and Rex Maganotti.
And the rest of the Graff Pinkard crew.
Yes. But as I look back on the past year, I see that we built our predictions based on what had been successful in 2022.
Right before we made this, we listened to a podcast we recorded about a year earlier, sort of our end of 2022 podcast. So this was really interesting for us to reflect on all our sage advice, predictions, observations. I feel like we didn't actually predict what was going to happen this year. We just kind of said, this is what we did well in 2022 when it was our best year. And so we're going to keep doing it and maybe back up the truck on it. Would you say that was kind of what we did?
Yes. And 2023 was a fantastic year. It even beat the previous year. The 2022-2023 rebounds from the pandemic were enormously successful years, and probably the best years the company has ever had.
But you just said 2023 was one of the best years the company had. You mean 2021 and 2022?
2021 and 2022. Thank you for correcting me, as you often do.
I was like, do you want to go back and edit it? No, we shouldn't. We should just keep going. Let's keep it real.
And what we did was to continue to buy old mechanical screw machines that not many people, not many dealers, not many competitors seem to want.
And we bought Swiss machines that everybody else seemed to be doing. And at the end of 2022, the Swiss machines, the Citizens, the Stars, Tsugamis, I mean, we had done pretty well on those machines in 2022. And we just figured, oh, let's just keep going with it. Let's get some good ones. We found some in Japan. We thought we were more clever than everybody else. And, we had some luck in the past bringing stuff from Japan. So we figured, oh, let's bring them in. We'll have the machines in 2 months. We probably didn't get the machines until like May or something, right? I think we were looking at them at this time of the year, and you just could not get a good Swiss machine. So we bought these machines. They're beautiful, but they're sort of middle-aged, around 2000, anywhere from 2006 to 2011, but in perfect condition. But we just figured, oh, we're going to get them here, and they're just going to sell instantly, and it's going to be worth all the craziness. But we've sold a few, but the deal just hasn't gone as what we were hoping for. We were hoping this would be just one of many good deals this year, and it's turned out to be, I wouldn't call it a failure, but I would call it, right now, it's just okay, and okay is really not a success on this.
We did include a 2016 FANUC wire EDM, and although we didn't get the price that we hoped to get, which is often the case, we did sell it. And
yeah, we bought for Citizens a DMG Mori show machine. It's never been in production, and a wire EDM, and half of the machines have sold, but it's just been okay. And I think part of the reason that the Swiss market has cooled off for us, it's not that people aren't using Swiss machines. It's two things. Number one, we were selling used Swiss machines last year because the new companies, the OEMs, couldn't get the machines fast enough. So people who would buy new were buying used. By the time we got these machines in, the backlogs had ended. So that was one big problem. And the other problem, I feel like, is people now, you ask them how business is, and many people say, yeah, business is good, but they're not ready to roll the dice on some expensive or even moderately expensive equipment. They're just sort of in this holding pattern.
Well, also, Noah, many of the Swiss machines made parts for the firearms business.
Mm-hmm.
And the firearms business absolutely deteriorated in 2023. And the market that people had expanded dramatically for fell apart. Well, all of a sudden, half the demand for new and used Swiss machines evaporated.
Why do you think the demand fell?
I think that, like us, like other people in the world, many people went into the firearms industry and they didn't really understand what they were getting into. And
oh, that's not like us.
right, and then because people overbuilt to accommodate what they expected to be a continuing rise in the firearms business, and then the firearms business fell apart.
But why did it fall apart? Political reasons?
Well, I don't really know exactly, except I think people bought too much. And while the demand still existed, there was a huge amount of overcapacity.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore prices fell, and people had a lot of expensive equipment, and it was difficult for them to lower prices. And that was a significant reason why our business went way down last year after the first quarter. The first quarter continued the momentum of 2022 for us.
What did we sell in the first quarter? Just some Davenports. Sold some parts washers.
Yeah, we sold some Swiss machines. We sold
2 indexes. Beautiful index MS-40 machines we brokered.
That were in Europe.
Yeah, that was a really good deal.
Yeah. So the first quarter was an excellent quarter. Not a phenomenal one, but an excellent one. The second and third quarters were horrible. I mean, one was worse than the next. And we lost money, and it was like a morgue at Graf Pinkert. We just couldn't close a deal.
Yeah, we had these deals, and they would just drag on, and several of them did end up closing, but and other dealers can relate to this, and probably people who make parts can relate to this too, where I know they can, where you're just waiting for the customer. You can't be too impatient, you can't be too needy, because there's nothing you can do. You're just waiting for it to happen.
Yes, how often did we hear, well, we're waiting for our client to finalize the job. They won't buy parts from us till they finalize their work from their customer. And right now, people are stagnant. And then you had rising interest rates. The 10-year bond, which dictates the price of mortgages, skyrocketed from like 2% to almost 8%. And people stopped selling homes and they stopped buying homes.
And why does that affect manufacturing?
Well, a lot of fittings made on screw machines, mechanical screw machines particularly, go into new homes, and new homes just really weren't being built, partly because old homes could not be sold, or people chose not to sell them because they didn't want to trade in a 4% mortgage for an 8% mortgage.
Okay, so we've talked about firearms, much less people buying those, and home prices falling. So that's 2 blows.
Yes, and then just this plague of indecision, and companies, as I said, right down the line could not clinch orders and actually have people order.
It's the same thing right now. We're waiting for several people to do that.
Yes, and right, it is continuing, but it shows signs of breaking. But meanwhile, we kept up the momentum as far as buying, and we continued to buy Davenports and Acmes and a few Wickmans, and now we're sitting with them.
But you have to buy when you see an opportunity.
Yes, but now the question becomes, is the mechanical screw machine business dead forever? And we're grappling with that, and it's certainly is moribund right now. Is it totally ready for the grave?
No.
We don't think so.
People are still using them. The question is if they want to buy more.
Yeah, that's the ironic thing. The spare parts business
Our Whitman spare
for
parts.
our Whitmans is very close to a record high. So that would indicate that people are running the machines actively, and therefore they're breaking down, and therefore they need spare parts. So it isn't that people aren't using the mechanical machines. They are using them when they can find operators, which is, of course, another chronic problem in the screw machine world. And that is the screw machine operators are retiring, they're dying, and people are not going into the field. They don't see the future, possibly because companies have refused to raise the wages that are required to attract people. And so all we hear are, well, I might buy another one if I could find people.
Yeah. I mean, I was at my local this place I get coffee. It's right in my neighborhood. They actually sell it like out of a window at a house. And I said, how much do people get paid here? Oh, we start at $19.50 an hour. Is there healthcare? Yeah, there's healthcare, there's benefits. And that's to start as a barista. So, granted, this is in Chicago. Minimum wage is $15. It's food for thought if you want somebody to go and work in a hot, noisy factory and pay them $16 an hour when somebody can go and I work at a restaurant and make a lot more right off the bat. Not saying one is the better path than the other, but it's, money talks. It's also a pride thing. I got involved with LinkedIn a little bit more this year, trying to build Swarfcast mainly. And I had a few posts on there that got a lot of buzz. And one post talked about wages. And basically the question was, are people in machining underpaid? And I must have gotten 30 comments on it. And 90% of the people said that they were being underpaid. So, is that the reason that there aren't enough people to run multi-spindle screw machines? No, but it's part of the equation.
Owners are not as anxious to say that their workers are underpaid. Some will accept the idea, yet they feel like they're on an escalator. If they raise somebody near the bottom to attract them, they feel like they have to raise all along the way up.
Right. I mean, we've gone to people and said, what do you say? Would you pay somebody $60 an hour if they could do X? And they said, yeah, but it'll screw up my whole pay scale. And I get that. And I'm not saying I have the solution, but I'm saying that it's food for thought why things are the way they are.
Yeah, I think about our business, and last year I paid bonuses twice, big bonuses to people because we were making so much money. And this year I paid no bonuses, and here it is December 17th, and we're waiting for a couple of deals to finalize this coming week. And if they do, I will pay bonuses, not nearly as much as last year, but I will pay some bonuses because we're going to make some money.
Yeah, and it's hard when there's inflation and you're used to what you made the year before. And we didn't raise anybody because we were worried about the coming year. So we just gave bonuses.
And the interesting thing is that people have not asked me for bonuses. They basically know that over the past 7, 8 months, nothing has been selling. But if these two deals gel in the coming week, the whole picture changes. And it's an odd situation to be in so late in the year. Usually people are preparing for Christmas. But this year, they are holding their breath as far as whether they'll be able to pay for the gifts or make the savings that they made last year.
Yeah. All right. So, we have all kinds of other interesting topics we want to talk about. However, before we get to that, let's stick a little bit to the nuts and bolts of the business, etc. What are you thinking that we're going to try to do next year?
Well, I am actually going to get rid of a bunch of mechanical machines that we've been sitting with for some time, that we keep saying, well, we'll strip them for parts, However, this coming year, we are going to have to move, or at least so we believe at the moment. And this is a major upheaval, and it's something that I dream about every day, and everybody's wondering about also, because 5 years ago I sold the Graf Pinkert building, 21,000 square feet.
Beautiful building.
Yes, that we built in 1984, and believing that I probably would have retired or died by 2024. And
it's not just that. It's just that I think you don't know whether this certain kind of equipment and this certain kind of model of stocking equipment is the thing you want to do forever. If you had an opportunity.
Well, also the person who bought the building, another dealer, anticipated using the whole place.
Right. So he leased it to us.
He leased half of it, well, more than half of it, to us, including all of the offices and the parking lot, too, where we keep containers with all kinds of parts that we may never use. Now we didn't have an option when we made the deal. So we're in the case now where we're looking for the right fit for where to move to. Right. And we're tossing it back and forth. Do we want a building like what we have now? Can we settle for a building with a smaller crane or no crane? How many square feet do we need? All kinds of questions that people have differing ideas on. And meanwhile, we're looking to lease, and agents are bringing us various properties, and nothing has been perfect, and nothing ever will be perfect. But within the next 3-4 months, we're going to have to make some kind of decision. And I've been hesitating on making a decision because I keep hoping for something better to come along.
Yeah. We found a place recently with a decent warehouse, but the office, it's like a closet. And
It's not that small, no.
well, I don't know, maybe it needs to be revisited, but in any case, it's not.
A good decorator could make something out of it.
But anyways, we're hedging our bets for the coming year. You know, do we want to back up the truck on a certain kind of machine? No. Obviously, if you see an opportunity, you have to go after it. But we've seen our successes this year. We've sold, we're on the verge of selling, let's say 6 very expensive CNC multi-spindle screw machines. And then we've sold some Acmes, and a Wickman, and also done several deals for companies, brokering, machining companies. We've done 2 more this year, and so we see that as very interesting as well. So we're, our thought is to not try to push into roll the dice on one thing, because last year we thought we'll get some more Swiss machines and some more Davenports, and the times will keep a rolling. Would you say that's a pretty good assessment?
Yes, and then there's always the possibility of some black swan event that could screw everything up. We have an election coming up with 2 unpopular candidates leading the way, and it's an unknown who's going to end up running, much less winning. And you could have a third party. Here we are 11 months ahead of the election, and nothing is really clear. So that's another complication going into the new year. And
okay, personally, is there anything else you want to say about business-wise coming to the year? You know what? No, let's not go any further. Let's not change. What advice do you have for people in our industry, our customers, for the coming year?
Do I really have advice? Can I really give anybody else instruction on how to run their business? All I can say is be attentive to your clients. Listen to them. Call them. Be kind to them.
And be attentive to your employees, etc. We've both said this in various ways. You want to go after and treat employees with the same care that you would to try to get a customer. Because they're both worth their weight in gold, and they're both people, and they both need
compliments, and they need paths.
Cooperation. The companies that we know are really doing well are the ones that have great workforces, have employees that, well, at least this is according to the owner, but it seems like they have very good culture. Those are the companies that happen to also be winning still.
Yeah, and I have to say, I'm awfully tired of hearing people call and say, I can't get an operator, I can't get an operator. And I say, well, what are you doing? Well, they say it's hopeless. We put a sign out, and people who knock on the door, we hire them, and they're gone in a week, or they never show up. And we needed an employee this year because one of our employees chose to leave and go to work with his father. And we advertised locally. And
in what, the newspaper?
Yes, the newspaper, which is not a newspaper anymore. And after maybe 2 weeks, we had a call from somebody who knew us, worked for a client of ours, and said they've cut back his hours and he's willing to work half-time for us. And I said, that probably will work very well. And he's worked out extremely well. So every time I've attempted to find somebody, I've been able to do it through word of mouth, through advertising, and there are people out there who want to make a change, and there are good people. And I have to say that I basically tune people out who say, you just can't hire anybody. How about you, Noah?
Yeah, I don't necessarily tune people out. I think that I don't necessarily have the right to know exactly what their situation is, but that said, I feel like money talks. I also feel like, and again, I'm gonna give the caveat that it's not really my place to say I know how your people work and how you run your business, etc. However, to me, it seems like if you have somebody that can run a Sugami and you buy a Citizen, you should be able to, that person should be able to learn to run this other machine. It's just, and maybe this is just my bias as somebody who wants to sell whatever I have to somebody else, but everybody says, oh, well, my people won't run it. Oh, my people won't run Wickman because they only run Acme's. And I don't know. I think it's a pity if that's the way the people are that you employ. And maybe that's just the way, it's hard when somebody's been doing something one way for 20 years. And again, I don't know. I can't totally say that I know what you should do or what you could do because I don't work at your place and I don't run a manufacturing company. That said, maybe people just need to be a little more creative. Maybe people need to get some automation, get an automatic bar loader so they can run more than one machine at a time. Maybe they need to be open-minded about training somebody they already have. I don't know, but I just think that there's solutions. If you have the ability to get the work, I think that there's probably a solution to make it happen. There's, as everybody who reads this and listens to this know, I'm constantly into personal development and bettering myself. And I listened to a book this year. It's sort of irrelevant what it is, but one of the people in the book, they were an entrepreneur, and they had this line in there. They said, I like to bite off more than I think I can chew, and then figure out how to chew it later. And this is something that lately I've been telling myself this. I write it on my schedule that I look at every day. Like don't necessarily hold back on a risk, on a, maybe like we bought some machines the other day. We bought these 2 big indexes that, there's a 99% chance we're going to sell. Did we know exactly how we were going to fit them in? No, but we'd figure that out. The opportunity was good enough that we'd just go for it. And there's tons of examples, but I could see if you're a manufacturer, you don't necessarily have the right machine or the right guy or woman to run it, but then you just have the best opportunity possible to just a game changer, something that could make you $1 zillion. If you really want it, you could probably come up with a way to figure it out if it's interesting enough.
One way you might be able to do it is to buy somebody else out who has operators.
That's another thing.
And move work into their place. So there's no perfect solution to any problem, but there are solutions. And as you once said to me, there aren't problems, there are simply puzzles.
Yeah, that was another one I learned this year. Quincy Jones once said that.
I like that line.
I totally think about that. When something seems like a real problem, like just, take a step back and say, I don't have problems, I have puzzles. Problems are like somebody's on their deathbed, like that's a puzzle. It's difficult to solve, but I mean, there's ways. What else? What else personally you have on your mind at this point in time?
Honestly, one thing I have on my mind is the war in Israel and Gaza. And then I have the reaction of people in the United States, which I found shockingly disappointing, as far as people saying they support the Palestinians. You can still support Palestinians and not support Hamas. I mean, many people in Israel have been looking for a solution to making peace with the Palestinians. And the Palestinians on the West Bank have been paralyzed partially by fear of Hamas. And this massacre that Hamas did is appalling, just sickening, and I can fully understand why Israel has decided that this is the moment to go and to crush Hamas and develop a new Gaza that they can live with. But what I find so shocking, actually not shocking, but nauseating, is what the colleges are, particularly the elite schools, are showing in their attitude towards, of all things, waffling on genocide.
Yeah, the people said, "Oh, genocide! We believe in genocide against the Jews," and them saying it's okay to say that, freedom of speech, and it's just so hypocritical. If somebody else had said that about some other group,
if they'd said it about black people, if they'd said it about homosexuals. I mean,
or Arab people.
Yes, they would be fired immediately on the spot, virtually.
You mean if they allowed it to be said?
Yeah. Or you have college presidents testifying in Congress to this effect. But I do see potentially a right turn taking place after the sense of being appalled by so many people, particularly big donors.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what's on my mind. And also celebrating my birthday, celebrating the birthday of my oldest granddaughter, my youngest granddaughter.
That's her birthday today, right?
In California. And having the pleasure of having my two grandsons in the house with us over the past weekend. Anyway, that's all I have to say, Noah.
All right. Well, I have a few other things to say. First, I'm just grateful for... Well, I'm grateful for so many things. Every morning I say how I'm grateful for my family and all the gifts that I've been given, gifts of skills I have and abilities and ambitions and gifts of being in this country, being an American citizen, gifts of just all the loved ones I have. I'm just so grateful for that. And I say it every morning, and it just means scientifically that it's proven that it makes you feel happier to do that.
I do too.
Yeah. But another thing I'm grateful for are the people who listen to this podcast or watch it or read about it. It gives me a sense of purpose knowing that I get to leave my mark on the world and have people actually hear what we have to say and take the time, take a half hour to an hour and 20 minutes to just sit and listen to us talk. It's an incredible feeling. And as I've talked about it before, I have a podcast coach who it's a coaching program I did. And I paid a significant amount of money to try to build listeners. And to do that, one of the main things you do is you do social media and you get on other people's podcasts. And I've worked hard at it. And the listenership's gone up some, but not nearly exponentially like they had made it seem like it was going to do. And, that's partly on me and that's partly on, everybody's stuff is different. That said, the positive is this year, I've gotten more emails and people seeking me out on LinkedIn, people saying that, this is just, they love the show and, this show made me quit my job because I was inspired by all the people on it. Or, two people recently have contacted us, I need help. I'm trying to sell a company, or no, I want to buy a company. Can you help me? And they want to talk to me and pick my brain. And we sold a company this year, and that the guy and his wife, they're big fans of Today's Machining World and Swarfcast, and they heard our ad about our new business brokering, and that's why they sought us out to sell their business, and we did. And that's awesome. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and what I love is you went down there and he showed you all the cards of all the people who said they would sell the business for him, business, quote unquote, business brokers. And none of them had gotten any action. And I found the potential buyer.
And it didn't take long. We just kind of went through. It was actually quite serendipitous because, and you knew I had to bring up serendipity. You were looking at some other customer that you thought might be interested in the business. And then through you looking through old emails for that customer, you discovered another customer that had been interested in that guy's business. And then you thought, whoa, this customer could be interested in the one that we're selling out west. Boom. You called that customer. They already had a company in Tucson, and this company was in Phoenix. And, you know, it didn't take long.
Yes, and the serendipitous event was that he was selling his business in Iowa to somebody who worked for him and was going to have a big personal gain on the equipment that had been depreciated and was looking for another depreciable opportunity.
So he could spend some of the money and take it out of his income?
Yes.
In any case, it's, you know, that's a great feeling. So it's not necessarily quantity as far as the people listening, but I can tell the impact of the show. I feel it, and it's awesome. And, you know, for a while I was doing it and I was just like, man, I've interviewed all the really good ones. I can't think of anybody else to interview. Everybody else is going to just be okay. And I keep coming up with great people to interview. And, you know, it's like you with writing the blogs, Dad. You wonder if you're out of things to write about, and you keep coming up with more things to write about. But the year has been, it's been a year of lots of serendipity. I'll talk about that a little bit before we wrap it up. I mean, as people who listen to this know, I do a lot of solo podcasts on here where I just talk about serendipity, the different things you can do to create it. And the more you talk about something, the more it actually comes to fruition. And so I've talked a lot about things you can say to people to cause serendipity, things you can do just to keep your eyes open, to find deals, to find prospects, to take an accident and turn it into something positive. A lot of these things, it's just a matter of being present. And so that's one of the achievements of the year, I think, for me, is doing that. And the other achievement is that I've managed to keep my son, my 1.25-year-old son. We've managed to keep him alive and thriving. So that's been very satisfying.
And it's been a pleasure to work with you, Noah.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to work with you. It's a gift, and I recently wrote a blog. Wanted to make it a podcast, didn't have time, but it was about pausing, just trying to pause during your day. Like, take a picture in your mind. Sometimes I just take lots of selfies, which helps because it's a reminder to pause, but you're doing something, maybe you're with somebody you love, or you're coming up with an idea that excites you, and you just pause for a second and you go, all right, this is cool. Just stop for 1 second, because these are the important moments in your life. And just remember, if you live to 80, you get 4,000 weeks. So if you're only living for the weekend, that's only 4,000 weekends. So you better enjoy all those little moments. And again, do as I say, not as I necessarily do. with that, I wish everybody a happy new year. You'll probably be hearing this in January. And I'm very grateful.
Me too. Happy New Year.